Alright guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness and welcome to my review of X. This one came out in 2022. It is starring Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, and Martin Henderson and was directed by Ty West. Wow, man. You know, I'm noticing a trend with the channel, and that's when I review a dog shit movie like The Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. I will usually default to a movie that I knew upon first viewing fucking blew me away. You know, when I go into, after reviewing something where I'm just straight up negative, I usually want to swing back and just, you know, gush over a movie. And was just kind of looking on my shelf and just skimming around. I'm like, what's something I could, you know, just totally lose myself in. And I happened upon X. Now, little backstory. When I first watched this movie, I did not get to see this one in theaters, which I wholeheartedly regret. But I did get to see it on Blu-ray. My, you know, not to flex or anything, but my big ass TV, and I got to watch it with my fiance, which is always a treat. You know, to watch a horror movie for the first time with her is always fun. We went and saw Pearl together as well. We're getting ready to go see Maxine once that comes out, and she's thoroughly enjoyed those movies too. So that's a testament, man, when you can get I'm not going to call her a non-horror fan, but when you can hook a newbie to the genre, we'll say, you know you're doing something right. And by no means is X an entry-level horror film. This is fucking... Anyways, but yeah, man. You know, we watched this movie for the first time, and movies like this are special. I'll say that right off of the rip. And what I mean by that is, this is 100% a slasher. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is a slasher film, no doubt. Obviously, it's far more polished than some of the stuff we would get in like the 80s and like the early 90s and stuff. There are certain elements of this film that are more polished, you know, visually and even writing wise. But to me, what totally, you know, I would even say it's my favorite aspect of the whole movie. And that's saying something, because this movie's violent as fuck as well. But my favorite part of this movie is the fact that it takes the slasher genre, and while sticking to a lot of the feel of a slasher, completely flips it on its head. Completely flips what you would expect a slasher film to be, and just completely blows your expectations out of the water. I went into this movie fairly blind. You know, I knew the premise. I knew we were getting, you know, younger people going out to a farmhouse to film a porno, and the older people don't know. And, you know, I've watched the trailers, yada, yada, yada. So I knew the premise. But sitting down and watching this movie, you would look at a premise like that and think, okay, you know, they're gonna fucking get killed. Standard slasher shit. No. I love the fact that it takes every trope and just completely blows it away. Like, it's, you know, for instance, we have Jenna Ortega's character in this film, Church Mouse, who, I can't remember her actual name for the life of me, which is really fucking bothering me. My memory is just not good. But Church Mouse, you know, you watch this film for the first time, and you just expect her to be that final girl. She's very quiet, very timid, not too into the idea of what's going on, really. She's like, you know, kind of hesitant to film a porno out in this barn, and, you know, her boyfriend's talking her into it, and you're just figuring, okay, she's gonna be the one to rise up against the evil villain and you know, survive the film. No. About halfway through the film, here or so, You know, you kind of see her, and you know, obviously with this film, with the premise, there is sex, and she's the boom operator, so she's, you know, holding the microphone up above him, making sure she gets all those sweet, sultry moans and groans. Hi, Mom. And you can see her like slowly, really, like she's kind of starting to get into it. You know, she's like, oh, like there's something to this, and it's a very slow progression until they have that amazing scene in the living room where, you know, we get the character who you would assume is the ditzy blonde, but she actually has some very profound things to say about sex and sex work, and you know, some very valid things to say, and you would not just assume this very ditzy character would be, you know, be the one to say some of those things. Again, I like that a lot. But she's talking, and Mia Goth's character Maxine is, you know, adding to it. Those are the two, you know, adult actresses, and eventually she's just like, yeah, I want to be in this. I want in. And when you're when me and my fiance were Mrs. Darkness were watching this for the first time, we were just like, what the fuck? Like, oh, wait a minute. Holy shit. And yeah, dude, and she does. And the boyfriend's fucking pissed. We get a really compelling conversation where at first she was, you know, not really too into this, and he's like, when did you become such a prude? Like, we have to start somewhere, and yada yada yada. And now his girlfriend's wanting in on it, and it's fucking, it's so good, man. It's so fucking good. And she does it, man. She fucks in this movie. You don't really see it or anything. It's nothing like that, but you see it with the other two. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, man. It's and you know, she ends up getting killed in the movie, and then we get, and by the way, phenomenal performance from Jenna Ortega. I thought the world of her character. Obviously, with the next young lady we're going to be talking about here in a second, Jenna Ortega's performance as the years go on, it has potential to be slightly overshadowed. I just get the sense it might be, and it shouldn't be, because goddamn, she's fucking awesome in this. But I have to admit, the star of the show, by far, Mia Goth as Maxine, who actually turns out to be our real final girl, who is anything but the general trope that you would expect. Like I said, with Jenna Ortega's character, you would expect a very prim, not prim and proper, but, you know, a very, very reserved, quiet, kind of nerdy girl, you know. Very pretty, but not like Maxine. Maxine's over here. I mean, the first thing we get of her is she's fucking snorting coke and making out with her strip club owner boyfriend, and you know, she's a porn star, and she's, you know, dressing all skimpy, and she, you know, anyone who's, you know, new to the slasher genre would just assume, oh yeah, she's gonna get fucking killed off in the first 5 minutes. And they even tease it a little bit with her, you know, skinny dipping in the lake, and you know, the alligators coming up, which, like I said before, still, even though I know what happens in that scene, I know she doesn't get eaten, but the way that whole scene is executed, it's fucking brilliant, man. It's so fucking good. But yeah, you would expect her to be the one to get killed, like, pretty quickly. But no, man. Once Jenna Ortega's face gets blown off by the fucking shotgun, you're like, oh shit, Maxine's the only one left. She's it, man. Mia Goth's performance in this is fucking incredible. You know, first watching this, I had zero fucking clue that she was Pearl, the lead villain, the old lady in the movie. I had zero idea. I had no clue. Then I went and watched the special features, because that's a I'll let you know a little secret. That is a Mrs. Darkness tradition, is once we get done with the film, it's time to watch some special features, baby. And I've always thought that was cool about her. That like if a movie's really good, she wants more. And I always thought that was cool. But anyways, so we're watching the special features, and then I see Mia Goth getting in all this makeup, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I see that it's Pearl. I'm like, holy fuck! Like, I just didn't know. Upon rewatch, I could, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it in some shots, but that's not to dig on the practical effects at all, because my God, she's unrecognizable. And that is partially due to the makeup, and it's partially due to the fact that she is a brilliant actress. She's phenomenal in this movie. And to carry two very contrasting characters and exceed very well at both of them is, there's not enough good things I can say. You have Maxine, who, like I said, very, very loudmouth, very boisterous, very bold character. And then you have Pearl, who has been, I imagine she's probably in her 80s, late 80s, or maybe 90s. She's old in this movie. She is old. I would even probably wager 90s, to be honest, like late 80s, early 90s, somewhere around there. But yeah, man, she is fucking just ravaged by time. And she's a character who longs for her, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, easy for me to say. She's a character who longs for her youth back. We get a lot more context in Pearl, but she was a character who's robbed of her youth, and now she sees a very similar looking young lady to her running around strutting her stuff. And she's jealous. She's jealous. There is a very disturbing... She has this almost lust after Maxine. Like, she's very... But it's out of envy. Like, she's like, I used to be just like you. And she's longing for that youth back. And, she's... One very compelling aspect of this movie is the relationship between her and her husband, Howard. And obviously they're much older people in this film, and they've completely lost their sexuality. Like, it's just not there. And that's something that's discussed in the living room, where she's Brittany Snow's character, Ruby May, Bobby Lynn, that's who it is, Bobby Lynn. I don't know where I got Ruby May from. Anyways, Bobby Lynn's talking about how, we're young and eventually we're going to be too old to fuck. And, we get that with Pearl and Howard. And Pearl's, she's trying so hard to seduce Howard, and she's trying to fuck. And he's just like, my heart can't take it. And any other movie would kind of treat that as like look how disturbing this is. It's these old psychotic people and they're trying to fuck. It's sad, dude. It's really sad. Because it's like, you kind of think about that. You're like, oh man. That's another very compelling part of this movie, is like, eventually one day, God willing, we're all gonna be there. And we're all gonna be too old to, be considered beautiful. And it's like, it's sad, man, because it's like, we have very young, very attractive women and men in this movie, and then we get to Howard and Pearl, and they are no longer considered beautiful. Like, Pearl at certain points tries to carry herself as such, trying to seduce Howard and kind of touching on herself, but it's just not there. And it's like, that's a very, very disturbing thing to think about, and it's very real, because no matter how far we try to run, time's gonna catch up to all of us, and we are all eventually gonna look like that. It doesn't mean, now I don't think you should lose your sexuality, or you shouldn't feel ugly just because you're old. I don't believe in that at all. But, you know, we have people who alter themselves to run away from time, and we have people who, you know, in this, well, in this film, they don't really get to experience any old age because they all pretty much die in this movie, except for you know, Maxine, obviously. But yeah, man, I'm gushing about that aspect of the film. I just thought that was a really, really cool way to. I just thought it was really cool. It's a really unique thing that not a lot of movies tackle, at least not in the horror genre. Anyways, all around though, the performances in this are fucking great. I mean, you have Kid Cudi, who I did a little, very brief research on his film career, and it doesn't look like he's been in a whole lot of stuff, at least that I've seen. I would fucking love to see him in some more stuff. You know, I even want to seek out some of the other stuff he's been in. I thought he was fucking great in this movie, you know. Thought he did a fantastic job. Brittany Snow as Bobby Lynn, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, playing what you would think is that very stereotypical ditzy blonde, but she actually has some very compelling things to say, and she's not as, you know, dumb and ditzy as you would think. Love Martin Henderson's. Fuck me. Whew. I love Martin Henderson's character. I thought he was just this very sleazy, you know, pornographer, and he's I don't know. There's a certain charisma to his performance that I really enjoy. RJ, the very snobby film student. I'm familiar with a snobby film student or two from my time in college, so I get that, and that character was, albeit a little over the top, but you'd be surprised how many people act like that. And they're just so, you know, they're just so convinced that anything they touch is just gonna turn to gold. It's pretty fucking funny. But yeah, man, overall, I just thought everyone in this film was fucking brilliant. Shout out to the gentleman who played Howard as well. I thought he did a fantastic job. Gotta shout out the cinematography in this film as well. Like I said before, with that shot in the lake, just that overhead shot of Mia Goth just skinny dipping, which you're not gonna hear me complain there. But that shot of her skinny dipping, and we get that fucking huge alligator just slowly creeping up. And like I said, I know she doesn't get eaten, but I'm still like, like fucking, oh, it was really cool stuff. But overall, the film looks phenomenal. And yeah, man, just overall, the quality of this movie is absolutely fucking incredible. I admire the balls of this film, no pun intended. That was a very poor choice of words, but very fitting as well. I admire the courage of this movie and how it depicts pornography and sex work. You know, it's a very hot button topic for some people, especially now. You know, you have OnlyFans and you have all this shit, and people, ooh, it's not real work, and just all this shit. And if you want my opinion real quick, hey, if you can make your money and you're comfortable with doing it, why would you not do it? What, because some fucking neckbeard on Facebook doesn't think you should? Fuck him. Do your thing, queen. Or king. Whoever. Anyways, I admire this film for not shying away from the nature of pornography in the pornography industry. You know, obviously, when you go up on the internet, because, you know, I mean, not you, though, right? No, not you. You don't watch porn. No, me, never. Anyways, but, you know, we all go up on the internet and we see the glamorous aspect of porn. If you go back to this time period, you're popping in that VHS tape and you see all the glamour and the glitz and the beauty and the sex of porn. And we get that in this film, but we also get the stuff that you don't see. We get the stuff where, you know, Bobby Lynn is, cleaning off the end results of her scene, and she, you know, just throws it and throws the rag with the results on it, and it just basically lands on Jenna Ortega's character, and she's just like, fucking really, man? And she goes, oh, I'm sorry, sugar. Like, it's just, I don't know. I like this film for just totally just taking that balls to the wall approach with this and not shying away from the porn aspect of this movie. Obviously, it's not a fucking porno, but you know what I mean. I just thought it was, you know, they treated that line of work with a lot of respect, and a lot of people generally don't do that. I think if you put this premise in the hands of another filmmaker, we get a lot of cheesy fucking jokes and just stupidity, and, you know, and I think people in the porn industry deal with that enough already, but that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother thing. Anyways, so yeah, man, I really like the fact that they did that, but, you know, at the end of the day, this ain't a porno, baby. This is a goddamn horror film, and my God, this film delivers on the scares, dude. Mostly with the character of Pearl. And here we have this very old, frail, broken woman who, on the surface, you wouldn't really think anything about an old lady, you know? It's like, what's so scary about an old lady? The way that Mia Goth carries herself in this role, and the way you see her kind of walking around and shimmying around, and, you know, I think it's mostly capitalized on with two scenes, and we'll get into one of the scenes a little later, but, you know, when RJ's trying to leave the farm, and he pulls up, and we just get that visual of this old, frail woman just with headlights beaming in on her, and like I said, she's sex starved, so she's like caressing him, and it's very creepy, and, you know, she's coming on to him, and she's just trying to feel what it's like to feel young again, and to be fucked and loved, and just, again, very sad. But in that scene, it's extremely creepy, and it's even creepier when she sneaks into Maxine's room and just gets completely naked and just kind of cuddles up to her, and she's touching on her and shit, and it's just, it's fucking scary. But, you know, I admire the fact that this film, while you're obviously creeped out by these moments, you can't help but feel a little sorry for this character who really is just trying to feel what that feeling is like again, and trying to get that back, get that youth back, albeit going about it in a very psychotic fucking way, and I don't necessarily approve of that, but you get my drift, man. Yeah, dude, that'll basically do it. I don't want to ramble too much. Overall, I think this movie is just absolutely fucking phenomenal. Like, I genuinely love this movie. I think, you know, come down the line, if we ever do another top 20, or if I even do another list like that ever again, it'll be a long time before I do. Do not be surprised if this movie ends up on there, because it's that good. It's that good to possibly knock out one of my top 20. I don't know which one. I don't know where it would land. I don't even want to think about making a list like that again, honestly. But yeah, dude, it's up there for me. It's a fucking phenomenal movie. Cannot recommend it enough. And yeah, dude, without further ado, that'll do it for the review portion of the film, or the video. There we go. But you know what we gotta do now, baby. This ain't no porno. This is a fucking horror film, and we gotta get into the blood, the guts, and the gory bits. We gotta get into my kill of the film. Stick around. X is not a film that really lacks in any department. We get lots of just amazing filmmaking. We get a lot of sex, a lot of nudity, and we get a lot of fucking blood. Holy shit. This movie is extremely fucking violent. Oh my god. I could fucking go down the list, dude. There's so many phenomenal kills in this. I mentioned earlier Jenna Ortega's face basically exploding from a shotgun blast. I thought that was fucking awesome. God, I'm fucked up. Anyways. But we get Jenna Ortega's death, which is really good, even beforehand when she's trying to break out of the door. And the husband comes up and just completely obliterates her fucking hand. It's just like, oh my god. Fucking brutal shit there. Love Martin Henderson's character getting his eyeballs fucking poked out in the barn. Beautiful shit there. I will say, Kid Cudi's death, kind of disappointing. Kind of a wet fart. You know, it wasn't terrible. I think the worst death in this movie is probably the husband's, who just kind of has a heart attack and dies. But I do think Kid Cudi's death could have been a little better. Loved Bobby Lynn getting her fucking head bitten off by an alligator. I thought that was fucking great. Just Pearl shoving her in the lake and then just going, bitch. And then the fucking gator just clamps down on her head. Beautiful stuff there. Obviously Pearl's death that we get at the very end of the film, getting her head run over by a fucking truck. Absolutely disgusting, brutal stuff. And all very, very good stuff. But the kill of the film for me has to go to RJ. You know, like I said before, Pearl just kind of coming up to him, just kind of rubbing up on him and caressing him, and you know, he's rejects her advances and he's like, no. And he pays for it, man. He gets a knife right to the fucking throat, and she lets him think about it. You know, he backs up and he fucking falls in front of the van. And, you know, phenomenal cinematography what blended with gore is like amazing stuff. You know, she starts just repeatedly stabbing this kid in the neck. Just boom, boom, boom. The blood is spraying onto the headlights of the van. And, you know, it's illuminating what was once just normal light. It is now completely blood red. And we get this amazing shot of Pearl just keeping stabbing. And you see RJ's neck, which is basically reduced to hamburger when she's done. It's just his neck. He's basically decapitated. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Brutal, bloody, gory goodness. And it is my kill of the film. Well, guys, that'll do it. Amazing fucking movie. Cannot recommend it enough. And it's, yeah, dude, like I said, this could very well be in my top 20 at this point. It's that good. We'll be reviewing Pearl eventually, probably when Maxine comes out, and then obviously we will review Maxine as well. But until then, man, next time on Days of Darkness, we are going to be reviewing and continuing the Texas Chainsaw series with the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I'm very much so looking forward to talking about that with you guys. But until then, thank you guys as always for stopping by the channel and listening to me talk about this fucked up stuff. But thank you guys as always for the support. I cannot state enough how much I appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves and keep watching horror. All right, guys. Have a good day.